Is there anything more terrifying than an angry woman out for revenge with dark black hair that covers her face? These are the Onryo of Japanese folklore, spirits of wrath and retribution. And to those who have crossed them, they will get their revenge. This is Pantheon mythology, and today we'll be answering the question, why are the Onryo so terrifying? Just quickly, if you want to protect yourself from these vengeful spirits, you better head over to Pantheon Apparel, our clothing brand which is inspired by myths and legends from around the world. We ship worldwide and are rated excellent on Trustpilot, link in the description. Right, let's begin. Whether it's rising from a well in a dishevelled dress or crawling down the stairs with that god-awful croaking sound, the Onryo have filled us with dread, terror, and yes, I'm not ashamed to admit, plenty of wet nights. But what transforms these women into nightmarish entities? To answer this, we need to explore their origins. The origins of the Onryo are deeply intertwined with ancient Japan's spiritual beliefs in animism. Animism is the belief that spirits inhabit all things in the natural world, from trees and rivers to everyday objects, imbuing them with spiritual significance. This world view sees the world as alive and responsive, with each component possessing its own spirit that must be respected. This foundational belief shaped the conception of the Onryo, suggesting that spirits of the deceased could also linger in the physical world if their deaths were marked by strong emotions or injustices. These vengeful spirits became prominent figures in Japanese literature and historical records around the 8th century, embodying the era's fears and moral codes. Ancient chronicles, such as the Shoku Nihongi, an 8th century text, provide the earliest known mentions of these spirits. The chronicle details how these spirits could wield significant impacts on the living, capable of causing illnesses and even death through possession. Such accounts highlight the profound spiritual and physical consequences believed to result from offending these powerful spirits. The association of Onryo with notable historical figures, such as Prince Nagaya, who died in 729, illustrates how deeply the notions of politics and the supernatural were intertwined in forming the early narratives surrounding these spirits. The chronicles recount that Prince Nagaya's spirit, wronged by political adversaries, lingered to exact vengeance, affecting those in the physical realm long after his death. This narrative indicates that even individuals of high status were not beyond becoming malevolent spirits if they departed this life with unresolved grievances. It underscores the belief that actions taken in the physical world could have long-lasting repercussions in the spiritual domain, with spirits like Onryo acting as agents of retributive justice. The term Onryo literally means vengeful spirit in Japanese, a term that encapsulates the essence of their existence: revenge. These spirits typically belong to individuals who died under tragic circumstances such as betrayal, murder, or other profound injustices, leaving behind a residue of unresolved issues that they could not let go of, even in death. This persistence of spirit is believed to stem from their intense emotional pain and fury, which, according to folklore, endowed them with extraordinary powers. They were believed to wield almost divine strength, capable of invoking natural disasters, events that were seen as direct manifestations of their unresolved anger and quest for justice. For instance, historical accounts and folklore often attribute earthquakes, tsunamis, and other such devastating events to the workings of an aggrieved Onryo seeking retribution. This capability to affect both the natural and human world underscores a profound cultural belief in the potency of ethical and moral conduct and its repercussions. Moreover, Onryo are depicted in various historical narratives and religious doctrines as pivotal enforcers of moral justice. Their actions served as a supernatural enforcement of societal norms, where the spirits avenged wrongs that were not righted by human laws. This aspect of Onryo is integral to understanding their role within Japanese culture, as entities that transcended the mere haunting of individuals and instead took on the role of correcting larger societal wrongs. Their influence was so significant that rituals and religious ceremonies were often conducted to appease these powerful spirits, aiming to prevent the misfortune they could bring upon communities. The practices surrounding Onryo also highlight the complex relationship between the living and the spiritual realms in Japanese tradition, where spiritual well-being was seen as directly connected to moral and ethical behavior. The iconic depiction of Onryo, marked by their eerie white burial kimonos, is deeply rooted in Japanese cultural symbolism of death and mourning. These garments not only highlight their tragic end but also serve as a stark visual reminder of their presence between the world of the living and the dead. The long, disheveled black hair that often covers their faces enhances their ghostly appearance, symbolizing the chaos and disruption they bring from the spiritual realm into the physical world. Their powers extend beyond mere hauntings. They are capable of inducing wide-scale destruction and personal torment. This ability to interact with the physical world is a testament to their immense spiritual power, which is far greater than typical ghosts in Japanese folklore. This potency is often visualized through their interactions with the environment, where even their silent presence can alter atmospheric conditions, signaling their arrival with gusts of wind or sudden drops in temperature. These spirits also exhibit a unique ability to manifest their emotional turmoil physically, with some accounts describing how the environment can reflect the darkness of their rage through shadows that seem to creep unnaturally or lights that flicker without reason. This manipulation of their surroundings serves to isolate and terrify their victims, further distinguishing Onryo from other spectral entities in folklore, who typically do not wield such control over the physical world. Onryo's relentless drive for vengeance is deeply entwined with their inability to pass into the afterlife, which marks a significant deviation from other spiritual entities in Japanese folklore. These spirits are not only fixated on addressing personal injustices, their actions are also a manifestation of unresolved trauma and betrayal. This unresolved state not only underscores their tragic narratives, but also reflects traditional Japanese views on the importance of proper rights and societal honor, factors that, if mishandled during someone's lifetime, can prevent a spirit from finding peace. Further setting Onryo apart is their interaction with the living world. Their vengeance often extends beyond personal retribution against direct wrongdoers, impacting entire communities or regions. This capacity to cause widespread suffering, from influencing weather patterns to inducing plagues and famines, positions them as formidable forces within folklore, embodying the catastrophic potential of wrath unchecked by moral confines. The tale of Oiwa from Yotsuya Kaidan is one of the most iconic stories in Japanese folklore, steeped in tragedy and supernatural revenge. Oiwa's story begins with her marriage to Iemon, a samurai who is as deceitful as he is ambitious. Unbeknownst to Oiwa, Iemon marries her primarily for her family's wealth and status, hiding his cruel nature and a sinister agenda. As the tale unfolds, Iemon becomes involved with another woman, leading him to plot against his unsuspecting wife to free himself from their marriage without losing face. He hatches a plan involving a disfiguring poison disguised as a restorative medicine, which he administers to Oiwa. The poison horribly scars her, leaving her once beautiful face ghastly and distorted. The sight of her disfigurement drives Oiwa to despair, not knowing that her husband is the architect of her misery. In her grief and rage, Oiwa eliminates herself with a sword, her death marked by a promise to haunt Iemon. True to her word, she returns as an Onryo, manifesting to Iemon in visions, driving him into madness. Her spectral visits are not only psychological, but also visibly haunting, as she appears in mirrors, overhangs, and through lantern lights, tormenting Ieamon incessantly. Ieamon's life spirals into chaos as Oiwa's curse follows him, leading to a series of misfortunes that culminate in his violent death, perceived as a direct result of his moral failings and betrayal. Another iconic tale is that of Okiku, who was wrongfully accused by her master. Okiku was a servant at Himeji Castle, serving under a samurai named Aoyama Tesan. Okiku was known for her beauty and diligence, which unfortunately led to her master developing a sinister obsession with her. Aoyama's advances were consistently rebuffed by Okiku, which eventually drove him to craft a devious plot as retribution for her rejections. Aoyama accused Okiku of losing one of the family's precious 10 plates, each of which held significant value and were counted regularly. The loss of such an item was considered a grave offense, often punishable by death. In reality, Aoyama had hidden the plate to make Okiku desperate and vulnerable, hoping she would turn to him for protection in exchange for becoming his mistress. Despite her repeated counts, always ending at 9, Okiku refused Aoyama's conditions, remaining steadfast in her integrity. Enraged by her resilience and wanting to rid himself of the problem she posed, Aoyama took a more drastic step. He threw Okiku into a well and left her to die, thus silencing the only witness to his wrongdoing. Following her death, Okiku became an Onryo, a vengeful spirit. From the depths of the well where she met her untimely end, her ghost would rise, manifesting the unresolved trauma and injustice she suffered. According to the law, her spirit would count the plates from 1 to 9, and then let out a blood-curdling scream upon realizing the 10th was still missing, this cycle repeating endlessly, symbolizing her eternal torment. These tales not only entertain, but also serve to instill caution within the audience, reminding them of the karmic debts incurred by unjust deeds. The narratives of Oiwa and Okiku, like many Onryo stories, emphasize moral lessons on integrity, fairness, and the spiritual punishment that can befall those who stray from these virtues. So, why are Onryo so terrifying then? Their fear-inducing nature arises from a mix of psychological, cultural, and supernatural factors that touch on deep-seated human fears. Onryo are not your typical ghosts. They are relentless. Unlike other spirits, they don't just target those who wronged them. Their vengeance can spread to entire families, communities, and locations. Their grudge endures beyond death, making them inescapable and suggesting that moral consequences can follow someone even into the afterlife. Psychologically, Onryo represent unresolved trauma and guilt, emotions that make them terrifyingly real. Their return from the dead is driven by overwhelming rage and sorrow, and their vengeance is not just about righting wrongs, it's about all the emotional weight they carried in life, transformed into a force of destruction. This taps into universal fears of karmic justice, where the things we did in life, especially betrayals or wrongdoings, can come back to haunt us long after we're gone. What makes them even scarier is their unpredictability. Onryo don't just seek revenge on the guilty. They can cause illness, death, or even natural disasters to anyone they come across. The curse can linger in places long after their spirits have been exorcised, making them forces of chaos that can affect innocent bystanders. In modern media, Onryo such as Sadako from The Ring play on our contemporary fears, bringing ancient superstitions into our modern world. The haunting image of a spirit crawling out of a well or appearing through a television screen captures our primal fears of death, helplessness, and the unknown. Onryo are terrifying because they are reminders that the consequences of betrayal, injustice, and unresolved emotions are not bound by the physical world, and that vengeance can transcend life and death.